That is Jonathan Ferguson, the keeper of firearms and artillery at the Royal Armouries Museum in the UK, and I'm Dave Jewitt, the host of Loadout, the GameSpot show that delves into pop culture's most iconic weapons. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about some of the unusual design quirks of the M1 Garand, the rifle that won World War II.
And get ready to duck. Didn't quite manage to catch that one.
Would have been good if I got that.
It would.
If you like this kind of content, please make sure to subscribe, as we have episodes of Loadout going up every Sunday, including our full episode on the history and impact of the M1 Garand from last week. It was a tool that helped the Allied fight in the Second World War.
However, its modern popularity is mainly spurred on by this sound. Always wanted to do that.
On top of that, we'll still be blowing Jonathan's mind with a variety of gaming guns every Saturday, so make sure to check out those too.
God, I think this is a Garand. What have they done to you?
Right, let's get to the chat.
So now we've got one in front of us. Can you show us where exactly the ping comes from?
I can. Now, normally, of course, you load a full clip of 8 rounds, but rather than fling fairly solid rounds towards your head, I'm going to set that aside.
No, I appreciate that.
And I'll load an empty clip, so sort of simulating the end of a string of fire. So we'll set this up by locking the rifle open, which it does automatically, put in our empty clip, and then being a little bit careful, load it in. Bear in mind that when we fire the last shot in real life, you'd have the last empty case coming out as well. But the main noise comes from, and get ready to duck. Didn't quite manage to catch that one.
Would have been good if I got that.
It would. So there you go, and then it will stay open, so locked to the rear, ready for the next full clip, which you then shove in with your thumb.
So as you're loading it, it's worth talking about the other element that surrounds the Garand, of the Garand thumb. Like, I don't want you to get Garand thumb, but if you can sort of demonstrate it without hurting yourself.
Yeah, there are other places on YouTube to go if you want to see that.
Yes.
You want to see people willfully hurting themselves. Yeah, so this is a direct symptom of this very clever loading system, in that all you've got to do is shove in more rounds. And if the gun is in the right sort of fettle, the working parts will go forward on their own even, which is part of the problem, I suppose. So to load another clip, or even if you're just trying to empty the gun and show clear for inspection, you have to shove your thumb in it. And you've seen what happens when that slams shut, so you know, you can figure it out from there really. But the way to avoid it is to use the heel of your hand, and you take the clip, put it in place, and then using your hand to hold it back, you push in, and then you can see it's wanting to go forward,
Yeah.
but it's actually hanging up there because I'm not doing it with enough authority. But that's what would happen if your thumb was in it. You can see how it would
It
hurt.
sounds like it would hurt.
Yeah. There's a lot of spring power. There's solid steel flying forward at quite the rate. So if you do it wrong and you don't put the heel of your hand on there when you load it, maybe you're in a rush. There's a war on after all. You could easily catch the tip of your thumb. I think that would be the most painful, is catching the very tip of your thumb in there.
It's making my hands feel uncomfortable. So, loading the M-block clip has its risks with Garand thumb, but what are some of the advantages of this sort of mechanism afforded to soldiers back in World War II?
I suppose simplicity. You literally just carry bandoliers or pouches, actually, of 8-round clips, shove them in. Whenever they're done, the clip gets rid of itself. Yes, you probably want to harvest them up and reload them, but if you're in the middle of a firefight, you wouldn't have to. You don't have to faff about trying to get a magazine fitted. Certain modern magazine systems are very efficient. At this time, less so. You can kind of struggle to get it in. If you're not well trained, well experienced, it can be a problem. Can't really go wrong. Bullets forward, shove in hole. Shuts itself or just needs a bit of a tap to send it forward. Shoot the rest of shoot the next clip, carry on, and then a very, some weapons will give you a visible indicator of when they're empty. This gives you a very good audible indicator. You have fired. You don't have to count. You fired 8 shots. Get another clip in.
So how come it sort of fell out of fashion and it's not really something that's used today? Some weapons still have stripper clips, but we don't really see the M-block anymore.
Yeah, the stripper clip has kind of become a loading device for external magazines. And people who know the M14 or the BM59 Italian Garand derivative with the magazine on the bottom, we've definitely pivoted to attaching a magazine to the rifle and done away with the clips. Why? Partly, I guess, exposure to mud and dirt and things is a bit worse with these because they're not housing the rounds in the same way, and you'd struggle to kind of pull those quickly and tactically out of a pouch. But more than anything else, it's just the 8-round limitation. You know, you couldn't, I don't think you could really, even a genius like Garand, I don't think he could design necessarily a 10-round clip that would work as well. Maybe he could have done, maybe I'm speaking out of turn. Even then, that's only 10 rounds. It's only as much as a Lee Enfield. If you want 20, 30, which increasingly armies decided that they did need following the Second World War, you've got to make a much bigger gun. And then you're looking at feeding with more than one clip, like a Lee Enfield, or more realistically, you're going for a box magazine. And that's what they did.
Great.
That's a wrap on down.
Yeah, cut that.
That still comes out with quite a bit of force.
Yeah, even
Yeah.
the loaded clip comes out with a fair old whack, which is why you need like 3 hands to try and control it out, keep it for later.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Loadout. If you enjoyed, please do like the video and subscribe, and maybe even let us know in the comment section down below or on Twitter @IrregularDave what you'd like to see an episode on. If you want more video game firearms content, you can watch the previous series of the show or check out our weekly series of Expert Reacts, where I show our friends at the Royal Armouries a slew of guns to break down.
I'd like to introduce you to a close personal friend of mine.
Here's what we've got coming up next week on Loadout.
I get asked quite a bit whether there is any practical purpose for something like a Desert Eagle. The answer is, from a military and law enforcement, even a self-defense perspective, there is no real practical purpose for it.
It only gets worse when the barrel gets longer.
Even the barrel is a deadly weapon.
And now, it is time to say goodbye.
Until next time, I've been your host, Dave Jewitt. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.